Hello everyone and welcome to Model Railways Unlimited. Now I suppose most of my viewers will be on a kind of soft lockdown in the UK, and if not on hard lockdowns around the world due to this dreadful coronavirus. My heart goes out to all of you, and I hope you're staying at home, keeping safe and following the advice of your governments. Here in the UK things are moving quite a pace. We seem to be moved towards a soft lockdown where things are gradually being taken away and liberties are being removed. Quite necessarily, we've got to protect our National Health Service so it doesn't get overwhelmed. So go with it everybody, stay safe, follow the advice. Now, back to the model railways. You will remember that I had a beautiful standard class 4 from Hornby that I'd purchased from Kerno Model Rail Centre, and after a bit of testing its motor failed. Good old Hornby. Anyway, can't fault Kerno, they have sent me another one. It was so quick, it's only just arrived today. So what I thought I'd do, as the votes of my viewers and from my Facebook group has said, perhaps oil the motor on its bearings before you start the running in, and that could help it, although I don't think it was the motor bearings that failed last time. So it's in the box at the moment, as you can see, and I'm gonna get it out and we'll have a look at it, and we'll make this a bit of a service video as well so you can see how to get to the motor if required. Okay, so it's out of the box and all the details look good, nothing's loose, nice and clean. They are a very handsome model, aren't they? I do like the standard class locos, standard class 4 being one of my favourite. So what we now need to do, a bit weird for a new model, but let's try and make this one last, is we need to open her up in the body, and that takes place in here and at the front there. And I need to put her in the service cradle and flip her over, and we'll go from there. So we have her upside down. Now, just an observation, there seem to be these weird marks on the wheels, look. You can see them there and there as well, like little notches. Rather strange. However, everything looks alright. How free are these? And they're quite stiff. These seem to be quite bad bearings, particularly the middle wheel. Very, very stiff. Puts quite a load on the loco. Right. To get the body off, we have to take out this screw that secures the tender to the loco, and there's one underneath here there at the front, which you can probably see, that has to be undone as well. And we'll go step by step. To get the little plug out, I use a pair of tweezers either side of it. There's some notches, and just ease it out ever so gently, because you don't want to pull on them wires. It's not particularly easy to do it with one hand, so I'm going to put the camera down and do that, but you'll see afterwards how it comes out. Separate the tender from the loco, just see how free it is. Give it a nudge. Yeah. Terrible, really. We'll have to come back to that. So, as you can see, the little plugs come out, no problem at all, and we've taken that screw out, which is now safely in there. Just got to remove this front one. Need to remove the screw here at the back. So that's just right at the back of the loco. A little bit. No, there's no crack there. I thought it looked like there might be a little bit of a crack along the top there, but it doesn't look like it. So we'll remove that. Right, we have a rather nice speedometer cable that attaches to the back axle there via a crank and to the body. In order to remove the chassis, we have to undo that crank pin, and a special tool is available for this, which is that. There we go, and that goes over there, and we carefully unscrew it, holding the wheels as well. It's a two-hand job, and you'll find there's a thick washer directly behind that as well, which needs to go back on in the correct order. Now, I can't hold the camera and do this, so I'm going to have to let you see once I've undone it. Right, so the crank pin is here now. Oh, now it's stuck to the end of the tweezers, magnetic tweezers. the speedo cables drop down, and as you can see there, look, there is the washer. I'm going to take it off with the tweezers. It sits over the top of the coupling rod. There it is. Now if it drops there and disappears into the loco, it will stick to the motor's magnet, so that's where it'll go, but as we can see, it's still outside. Got him. Let's put him safely in the tray, and we're now ready to ease the body off the chassis. Before you commence removing the chassis, it's a good idea to put the crank pin back in to keep the coupling rod in place and prevent damage. And that is what's inside. So here's the motor. This is the weight and gear cover. We need to undo that screw there to get to it. Just need to ease these wires out of the channel to do it, and probably lift this little bit of black tape that sits on top of the motor so that the wires are free to move, just like that. So I'm going to do that and we'll come back. Taking the cover off, and there's the worm drive and gears. Blimey, there's not a lot of lubricant in there, or ever has been. No sign any on the front bearing of the motor. I would assume none on the back bearing. So we're going to have to do a bit of gear lube and a drop of Label 102 oil there, and on the other end. Once again, I think we did this caution when we were looking at the Bachmann class at 24. The end where the wires go into the motor are where the brushes are, and this is the end where if you get too much oil on that motor bearing, it will get onto the brushes and write the motor off. So this end will have the pin and a tiny drop of oil just to make sure that it is oiled. This end can just have a normal drop without too much worry, but poor show Hornby, there's it looks slightly greasy, but there is no proper lubricant in there at all. Dear oh dear. Okay, the loco is back together. A little bit of fun and games with that speedo crank, but just got to make sure that it goes back on the correct way, because there's flats on the pin and you've got to make sure they line up. The tender wheels, well, I've eased the pickups, you can see I'm pressing on the backs of the wheels, but it still remains quite stiff. Just dreadful bearings. I don't know quite why they need to be like that. I mean, it's like something out of the 60s or 70s, that sort of bearing. Oh well, let's reassemble and we can actually test the loco. Okay, well, here we go. First attempt. Kono did say they tested it for me. A bit grubby in places. Anyway, let's just see. We'll go backwards first of all. That seems okay. Oh, look at the movement on that speedo cable. That doesn't quite look right, does it? Yeah, not happy with that. We're going to have another look. No, that's a bit better. It had to come out of place. You've got to really watch that crank goes back on the pin correctly. To make matters worse, the crank pin isn't a very good tight fit back in the wheel. And when I was assembling, yes, that back fixing for the screw to the holds the body on at the back, that was split above it. I don't think it's too much of a problem. But for a new loco, I don't know. Hornby, you're not what you were, are you? Now, I don't know if you can see, but just the same as the other one, the middle pair of wheels just skids along the track. It's like they're slightly higher in the tender and they don't rotate. They may do when it goes over point works and things, but it's probably why it's quite so stiff running. But I have to say, listen, silky smooth. It's far better than the first one. So is that hopeful? I fixed the cab window that had come out. A little bit of a fiddle, but got it back in. It plugs into the frame, and then you just use a little bit of glue to tack it in place very gently. I had a bit of a clean up. Actually been sitting around or something on display, perhaps. I'm not saying she was. Black locos do show up the dirt very easily. But so there is number 2, and we'll take it downstairs from some proper running, see how it goes.